You like the zipper section, Barbara. Jolly good. So this is another one. I've made this one today, and I've done, if you can see, I'll open it up. I've got 2 poppers on this one because I've done my flap, rather than rounded, I've done it with just 2 diagonals there. Now, no, this one's right. So this one's got a zip section, and I didn't put the little zip tabs at the side, so you don't have to, but I'm going to put them on tonight because still looks fine, but it's a little bit harder to stitch across these outside edges if you have the tabs on the end. It just means that you, there we go, it just means that you're going through a thinner area when you're stitching across those. Then this one here, okay, so this one, okay, is similar in that it does have, oh, I've done a different top, I'll show you in a minute. It does have a pocket, but this was the first one I did today, and I'd forgotten, and I didn't put my pocket lining in. So what I did instead, before I folded it, I stitched a line, can you see that row of stitching, across there, which means that my pocket is still a pocket and it doesn't go through into the main piece. So don't worry, don't worry. Now this one has got, yeah, it just got rounded corners like the first one. And then this one here, oh, I like this one actually. Same as my faux leather bottom bag. So this one I just did a long sweeping curve across there, and I put the zip tabs at the side as well. So do you like this one? I think this one is pretty elegant, and I think that will go, and this is what you can do when you're making a bag. Why not make a purse to go with it? I think I have, oh, I won't get it off, it's hanging on the door. Yeah, this is a fabric I haven't got any more of. It's French General, as you know, and it's just the last little bit I got in my scraps. So this is just so the different shaped flap. We've got that one, we've got the normal rounded one, and we have got the chopped off corners one, just like that. Okay, so I've got plenty of those. So what you need, if you have pen and paper, or if you can remember, or wait for the PDF, entirely up to you. So on those ones, I use fusible fleece. You know that stuff that I use all the time, that's £5 a metre, it's great value, iron on, fusible fleece. That's what I use in those, but I thought tonight I will use G700. Now G700 is that woven fabric, woven interfacing. I've got a little bit here. Okay, so this is what I'm using. It's just like a lightweight cotton, but it's got a fusible, it's got little dots of adhesive on one side, and then it's just smooth fabric the other side. So I'm using that. Because I'm using a cotton fabric, it just gives it a bit more body. So I've already, with a little bit of thread under there, you can see, I've already just fused that to the back of my pieces. And all you need to start off with is one piece that is 7 inches across by 6 inches down, and then a second piece which is 7 inches across and 4 inches down. Okay, so you could actually cut one piece that is 10 inches long and 7 inches wide, and cut your 4-inch piece and your 6-inch piece. Then for the lining, the G700 is £7.50 a metre. It's on the website at £3.75 for a half metre. Okay, I have got more of this fabric left because this is on the website as well. So if you like this too, we'll see what it comes out like. So the lining fabric, at the minute I've just cut a 7. So glad you got bits of, yeah, I know. Well, it won't show, we won't see it anyway. So I've got my lining fabric, and all I've got is a 7-inch width of fabric, because we're going to cut the lining according to what our piece looks like. Yeah, absolutely is layer cake friendly, absolutely is. And then the other little bit, I've got a little strip. This is about an inch and a bit wide, just to do my zip tabs. Okay, so let's dip down to the machine. And of course, not having my phone here, I should have brought it even still, shouldn't I? So that, whoops, let's turn that around a little bit. There we go. Oops, haven't got that in quite the right angle tonight, but no, we'll be fine. So that I can see any comments. Let me just grab it so I can see any comments that come up. Oh. I've been wittering a while, haven't I? Okay, let me just get, so totally Trisha. Oh no, that's right. Let's see, we're on here. I should be able to see. Yep, we are there. Let's just turn that down. Oh, it's got a blue background. Oh no, not that. There we go. Let's see. Oh dear. I want some comments, that's right. Okay, right, I can see my phone. Let me just pop that just here. Oh, I've just got a blue background, so I can't see any comments anyway. Never mind, add story. Let's just pop that, and it's, oh no, oh, here we are, right, perhaps I can see it. Yep, layer cake friend, I can see it now. Oh, there's Sharon, hello Sharon, and Margaret, and Virginia. I'm only just starting. Oh, Kirsty uses G700, makes a bag to match your dress. Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, so the other thing we need, got those two pieces there. We need a zip, which is a little bit longer. I think this is an 8-inch zip, but anything longer than 7 inches is good. It just makes life easy. And yeah, as I say, I've got my little bit to do the zip tabs. So we'll start with the zip first, because that's what we're going to pop in first. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it so that I cut off, I'm cutting off the, oh, that's not very straight, the metal bit, the metal stopper at the end. And then with my little strip, I'm just going to cut this, because we're going to put a tab at both ends. So I'm going to cut it into 4, and these are probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches long, and they're just the width of the zip, or a little bit, doesn't matter that white edge is there. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop one right sides together, lining up at the end, and I'm going to put one at the other side. So I've just lined that all up, and you want it to be nice and straight. So just line those up like so. Put a little clip on there if you want to. And we'll do one at the other end, but if we start with this end, and then I'm going to pop that under, so I'll just take that off, and then I'm going to stitch across here, just one row of stitching, just to hold that together, and then we can pull that part back and the other part as well. So just pull that part so that you can see the right side on both sides. And then we're just going to top stitch along, so on the fabric, but just across there. So there we have the tab. Don't need to, we're going to trim this off later anyway. So there we have the tab. Now, as we put this down on there, I want to have a little bit, I want to have a little excess. So what I actually did on my other one, which I cut my zip down. This was 7 inches across here, so I cut my zip to 6 inches. So if I just have a look, now when you come to cut this end, make sure that you've pulled your zip pull across here, because if you trim it off straight away, it's not going to work, because you're going to cut the zip pull off. So I'm looking at this zip. There we are. So that's from there. I'm going to cut off. So I'm just measuring. There's a little bit under there. So I'm measuring from that end. And whoops. I'm going to cut it just here. Whoops, so that's probably a little bit more. But it's not an exact measurement, purely because these are going to make up for it. So I'm just going to pull that together. So I'm not going to pull this off. I'm being very careful. Bring that together and then trim across there. So I've got that nice and straight. Now, so that I'm just going to stitch across here as well, just to hold the zip together. So only one or two, because we're going to stitch over there anyway. So I've stitched over there just so it holds it together while I put these tab pieces on. So one piece up to the end, so it lines up with the end of your zip, and then one piece on the back, so you're doing a zip sandwich with your fabrics right sides together. Clip on there if you like, but then we can just sew across there. And I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, as I usually do, because as I say, this is not an exact measurement, so I'm just pulling those two pieces back, and then I'm just going to top stitch across the end of that fabric, just to make it nice and neat. Okay, what's that say? Djokovic's just won the second set. Oh, never mind, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to take my biggest piece, my bottom piece. We can do the zip up now. In this particular project, I'm going to trim that just a little bit there. It doesn't matter. You don't have to leave the zip open. It doesn't matter at all. So what we're going to do is we are going to place, oh, I know what we should have done. I'm going to place my zip, I usually put it to the right, right side down, and I'm just making this nice and even. That's it. I didn't actually need, let me just see the tiniest bits. I'm just going to trim that just slightly along there, because we want it to measure, we want it to be the same width as the zip. So I'm going to lay that on the top, like so, and have the same amount of tab hanging over each edge. So I've got that about right. I'm just going to put a binding clip on there just to hold it. So that's holding that together. Now what I should have said we need as well is a lining piece that is 7 inches by 6 inches. So not that you can see what I'm doing, but I'm going to do a piece that is 7 inches by 6, which is exactly the same as the other piece, as the main outer piece. So I've just come to the cutting table and cut the piece. So there is my lining piece, which is 7 inches by 6, exactly the same as that. And I'm going to put this right side down onto my zip edge. So I'm going to line that up perfectly there and take that clip off and pop it back on to hold it. And then I'm just going to stitch the whole way across here to secure the zip. Okay, there we are. So let's take it over here. Oh, I've got my zip pull right down there. I think I'm going to move the zip pull out of the way for a minute. That's it. So we'll start off. I've lined all these edges up. I'm going to take that off a minute now, and we'll start stitching. So if you want to put pins to hold that all together, by all means do. But I like to make sure the zip tape is lined up with the edge of my fabric, and then the lining fabric is on top there. So we'll carry on stitching till we get to, I can see my zip pull. I don't think I'll be able to get past it. So I'm just moving that back past the end. And then I'm just lining that up again, and we'll just carry on stitching across. So I can take that off now and carry on. and cut. So then I'm going to pull the lining fabric back and I'm going to tuck it underneath, okay? And I'm going to swivel it round so that I can top stitch along here. So we can either press, so press that all together so that the edge of your outer fabric and your lining go together, or yeah, you can press it, or like I do, I just pull this out so that it's away from the zip edge, and then I'm just lining that up perfectly, and I'm keeping my hands on there while I just top stitch across here. So as I'm top stitching, I'm just holding that fabric together and making sure it's pulled away from the zip. So let's just carry on stitching. The zip pull's not going to get in the way this time. There we are. So I've got a nice, neat line of top stitching across there. Okay. So now this is going to be my pocket lining. So I'm going to pull that up. Can you see that? I've pulled that up to create the fold of the pocket, and I'm going to line that up with the other edge of the zip. So let's just make sure it lines up down this side edge as well, and the top of the zip. So that looks good to me. Can you see there, lined up with the top of the zip and also down that edge? And I'm just going to put a clip on there just to hold it. So we've got that nicely together there. I might even put another one just there. And then we're going to take our top piece, this is going to be the flap, and I'm going to put that right sides together on the top there. So again, we need to line that up with that top edge of the zip and also the side edge here. So that looks good to me. So while I hold that together, I can take the clip off and then put it back again. And I've got my lining. So there's my pocket lining with the fold in it. My zip's in the middle, and here's my what's going to be the flap. So we'll take that under the needle again. I should probably have to move my zip pull. I will, I can feel it there. So I'll take that off, and then I'm just going to move the zip pull all the way down here for the time being, and then we'll move it again. So I'm just lining that tape, the zip tape up there, lining that, the flap piece, and carry on stitching. Right, we've got to there. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to push the pull along here, push the pull, and then just making sure my pocket lining still lines up with the zip tape, and bring that piece over as well. So all the way across and cut. So this time, I've got no pocket lining behind here. We've left it under there. So all I'm going to do is pull that top piece up, which is going to be our flap, and I just nail press that across there. I will have to swivel it around again. No, I won't. I'm going to stitch along this, just top stitching along this edge. Okay, so let's start again. And what you can probably see, the inside of my foot, where the gap is, where the needle is, I've got that lined up with the edge of my fabric there. And that then gives me a lovely straight line for my top stitching. If you try that, I think you'll think, oh my goodness, that's a game changer. So you can see there how I've got nice straight top stitching on both sides. Okay, so now we can trim this off. So let's just trim that bit off there. So that's nice and straight. And then also on this side as well, we can trim that off because that's totally then in line with each other. Nice straight edges there. Let's just go back out a little bit. And there we go. So the next thing I want to do, just a belts and braces job, flip it over. I just want to stitch, I can do it from the other side, but I just want to stitch this pocket down to the sides. So I can see here, that's all nicely lined up. So I'm just going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge, just to hold the pocket. And I'm only going to about there, and then I'll do the same on the other side, just down here, So that's just holding the pocket in place. Can you see there? So it's just held it in those sides. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shape my flap. So I'm just going to fold that together. Now you can mark on here if you want to. And I quite liked the, have I got a pen there? I have. I quite liked the curved one. So rather than, I mean, I quite often just do a curve around here, but I am going to do this time, I'm going to curve it to that center. So I'm going to go down here and across there. Okay, so it's going to give me that curve on the one that I've done there. So I'm just lining those open corners up, and then I'm just going to cut along there and leave that straight in the middle. Right, as you can see my curve there, and then when I open it up, that's the type of curve I've got on the top. I quite like that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is take our lining fabric. So here is our lining fabric, and we're going to have that, let me just press that again. There's a bit of a crease in there, not that it will matter. Okay, so let's put our lining fabric right side up, and then I'm going to put our main piece of the purse right side down. So as I said, I had just cut myself a 7-inch wide piece. Ooh, just about, I think. There we go. So that I need a pin, really. Pins are sometimes better, and I've lost my pin cushion. Let's just, oh, here it is. So rather than cut it to shape, I'm just going to put a pin through that layer. I'll actually put one in the middle, just like that. What we can do, I'm just going to trim that across there, but I'm going to stitch first and then trim. So let's just put that one in there, just as I say, to hold the fabric together. So there's my lining piece, that's going to be fine. And there is my outer on top. So right sides together, whoops-a-days, right sides together. So this is just whatever size yours turns out to be, that will be the size you cut. And I'm going to leave a gap between there and there to turn it through. Okay, you can see there. So I'm going to start at this one, and I'm going to just reverse there, and I'm using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Get to the corner, carry on stitching round, and you'll see here where it goes around quite easily, because I have got, I'll take that pin out now, I have got zip tabs on there, and I'm not having to go through zip coil. So again, I'm just going to whiz around here and round to the other side. That's about right. And down the other side. Down there. I've got all my edges all aligned nicely. And pivot round. And I'm going to stop just here. And where I stop, I'm just going to reverse there. Okay, so we'll clip these two corners off at the bottom, just to make nice corners. Just take that pin out and that pin out. And then round at this curve, I'm going to clip off near that curve, and I'm going to trim away to probably about 1/8 of an inch or so. Because that's quite a long curve, we shouldn't have any problems with that. And then just clip off where that comes to a point just there. So now we're going to, well, before I turn it through, I'm actually going to press that back. Okay, so I'm going to nail press that first. So it's pressing my seam open, and I'm going to flip it over like that and turn that piece back to meet it. So just nail pressing that, and then when it goes to the right side, I'm just going to take that to the iron and just press that down. It should turn in a lot more easily, so I've just given it a little crease just there. So now we will turn it to the right side. So let's just pop that through. Don't leave yourself too small a gap. It does come through quite easily. Mine was about 2.5 inches, and it will just come through like that. And you can either push your fingers in there, or like I do at the moment, because I've got one here, I've got a paintbrush, and I'm just going to pop that into this top curve. So just roll it around that edge. As I say, if you can get your hand in there, just roll it round with your hand, and then into those corner pieces there. I might poke some, yeah, that's fine. Because we've trimmed it away, it does actually poke out quite nicely. And because we've used G700, that's quite a nice point there. Okay, and you can see now, where I press this, that's come together really, really nicely. So I'm just going to bring the iron in so that you can see. I'm just going to press this again. Okay, so we can, you see how nicely that just lays there? So I'm just going to get the iron and press across there. And then we can pull these corners out. They're not corners, are they? Pull these edges out so they're right on the very edge, like so. And we can give that a press too. Pressing as you go is really the way to go to get that really nice finish. Ooh. I'm just trying to wiggle that out. I think that little point needs to come out a little bit more. That's better. Okay, I can see that's come out now, so that we can have a nice even point or an even curve to the little pouch. So let's just give that a press. Give a little press over the iron, over the zip as well. And then over here, just roll that out to the edges and give that a press too. Okay, so it looks really quite neat now, doesn't it? Quite neat. Looks a little bit like a peg bag, but it isn't a peg bag, obviously. Okay. Next bit is, there's our lining. All we're going to do, we're going to stitch across here first of all. So there is the gap. So I'm going to stitch across there, just top stitch. Let's just hold that bit of thread so it doesn't all get tangled underneath. So just make sure this lines up nicely so that you're going through both layers. So we've gone straight across there. Nice little bit of top stitching there. Cut that thread. And then, if we turn it to the lining side, we're going to fold this up. And we're folding it up 3¼ inches, or here is our zip, and we want it to fold up to just above. You can see the zip is there, so we want it to be just above the zip. As I say, or we can measure, entirely up to you. If it's 3½, it doesn't matter. If you do it 3½, it means your flap will be a little bit shorter, or we can measure. So let's have a look here. 3¼ So I've got, if I pop it onto my ruler, whoops. So I'm popping it onto my ruler. There's the end, 3¼ We could put a pin in that side, and then I'll move it around here so that we have got 3¼ and that should be exactly the same at each side. So if you've got your pins in there, we should be able to fold it at the pin There we are, so that the pin is right there, and that should be absolutely even. So if I put my binding clip there and my binding clip on the other side, what I can just check is that the top, let's put it near the zip there, the top is exactly the same distance above, that is, yeah. It's the same distance above my zip here as on both sides. Let's just move that down, just so it's just slightly above, and similarly there. That's it, just check that that is totally even. And then what you can do at the minute, you can just fold that over to see that that is going to come over the top there. Okay, so that's going to be our flap. So if we start at this edge, we can come all the way around and down to the bottom. So I'll take that pin out. I'm just going to put my seam ripper just to push that down nicely for our stitching. And this is, oops, oh, didn't like that. I was going to say this is quite, so I've broken my needle. How good is that? Oh, well, I found my little, so let's have a look. So let's change my needle. What was I going through there? Nothing that I thought of. So, I haven't broken my needle for a little time. It probably was saying you need to put a new needle in. So I have got my new needle. Oh, that's a new one. Let's have a look. Oh, here's that one there that's opened already. Okay, okay. New needle, ladies. Isn't that good? You like the one with the squared edges? Yes, that's true. Now I'm trying to think which way it goes in. I think the flat side goes, well, I'll see. This is slight, oh yes, that's gone in okay. So I've pushed my needle all the way up and just giving that screw a turn to keep that nice and tight. Okay. Oh, there's the end of the needle, that's fine. So now we're going to thread it, and over there, whoops. Oh dear, are you watching, Bridget? Hold that over there. Oh, perhaps I've got it in the wrong way round. Right, down it goes, around we go. There we are, threaded that time. Wasn't holding it round enough. Oh, and it hasn't gone behind there, that's why. So it must go behind and in there. Right, let's see what we're doing now. I don't know why that decided that it was going to be all the ones I've made, and it should decide that it's going to break my needle. Right, let's just turn that's it, that's all right. So I'll just go nice and slowly. I'll just reverse at the bottom, and I can take that off, make sure these sides are lined up beautifully. There we go. And then around these sides. So I'm just carried on straight up to the edge. Whoops, I'm going to do one more stitch there. And then I'm going to carry on around the top edge. Nice and slowly so that you can keep nice even stitching. One more. And then to come down this edge too. Down we go. And I'm just coming up to this top part here. Actually, what I have done on the others, which I didn't say, when I come to that top edge, I just do 2 or 3 stitches backwards, just to give that a bit of extra stability there and a bit of sturdiness. Okay, and I'm just pushing, I can see that's just out just a little bit. Just pull that seam over, whoops, and nice and slowly does that down there. Keep them all nicely aligned on the top. And there I am at the bottom. Don't know what that was all about, breaking my needle. But saying that, I was in need of changing the needle. So there we have our base, or our back, with the zip in there. I should give it another little press. That's it. I do actually think what would be a good idea is to have G700 on both the lining as well. because it's still got a nice sturdiness, but you can see that one is just that little bit thicker, but it's still got body, which I like, and I wanted it to be just that little bit thinner. Okay, so now all we need to do, having put the flap down, making sure that's nicely centred, I'm going to find the centre across here. So I usually put a ruler on here, and I'm going to measure from there to there, and that is 9.5. How could it be 9? 6.5 even. So 3 1/4 is where, so just there would be the centre, and I'm just going to bring that down just a little bit, about there. And that is where I'm going to put myself, get my seam ripper, pop that in and take the pin out, and just do myself a little hole there, just the tiniest of holes. And then I'm just going to put a purple, I think we'll put a purple cam snap in there. And then on the back, I'm going to use the outie. So I'm going to place that on the top there. I've got my thumb on that one and my finger on there. And I've got my pliers, so I can pop that on and that on top, give that a clench. And then the next thing I do is I fold this back over, line it up to where it was before, and I always lift the flap up, and where that's coming down, I just put my seam ripper there, and then I'm going to do, so this is through both layers, it's going into the inside of our pocket, just the tiniest little nick there. And again, the inside one is going to be the button type one this time. So I'm just going to put that just under there. See if we can find where the hole is. There it is. And then I need the innie, which is that one. So that one's going to go on the top. So I've still got my finger underneath on the button one. I'll put my finger on there, grab my pliers, and the cup needs to go inside. So once it's in the cup, I take my finger off, but I've still got my finger on the other side. Pop that on, clench, clench, twice if not 3 times. Close it up, and there it is, all done. Just like that. What's a humper jumper? A humper jumper is a little accessory that if you've got a big, oh yeah, I should have used a humper jumper, shouldn't I? It goes underneath the back of your foot and it raises it to the level. You know, this isn't actually that thick, but it probably would have done good and not broken my needle. So it's when the foot is raising to get up a hump. If you put a humper jumper at the back of the foot, keeps your foot level at a higher height so that it can just stitch seamlessly at the same level rather than having to point upwards, which is why that probably happened. So we're all done. You've got a green machine and slim mat. That's a good idea. Do you think they would be strong enough? Absolutely would. Yeah, absolutely would. So there it is. Whoops. That would be fine. I've used those and yeah, they're really good. So there it is. There's our pocket. Let's just do that back up. There's our zip on the back, like that. And there's my inside pocket. But, oops, wrong side. So wasn't that nice and easy? So that one's quite pretty. That one's got the same shape flap. That one's got the cut-off points with 2. That's quite good, isn't it? This one is my original with zip at the back and the tabs. And this one has got the curve. But this one I didn't put the tabs on. So you just lay your zip right across that edge. And nice and easy too. So all of those, and thank you everybody, Brillo. Yep, It's just, can you show us how? I will one day, Jeeta. I need to get my bits out, and yes, I will show you that, most definitely. Okay, I think my tea is awaiting. I'm a little bit peckish, but the last thing I will say before I go is I do believe that everybody who's paid for the sew along on Sunday is actually in the group. So if you want to check, I'll go through all the papers and make sure you're all in there, but I've done it as I went along in making sure you were in the group. So it will start at 2 o'clock on Sunday. What I will do, if anybody is still wanting to join, purely the workshop only. Oh, I could do that, Jill. Yep, I could do overlocker and green machine on a Technique Tuesday, which is next week, isn't it? That's what we'll do. Thank you. Green machine, overlocker next Tuesday. We'll do that. If you do still want to join, you have got up until midnight tonight, because if it's purely the workshop, there isn't really a deadline, but I need to make sure you get in the group as well. So as of tomorrow, you won't be able to sign up for it. But if you are umming and ahhing, you can still sign up this evening. For those of you that are in the Sew with Trisha group, there's a discount code. So don't to put the zip pocket inside. Oh, I've done that so many times, Kathleen. Yeah, have a look. It will be exactly the same. What was the last bag I did? All of them, so many have got inserting a zip pocket on the inside, an internal zip pocket. So that won't be one of the first things I do, because I have done it many, many times. Have a look. Now, the other day, I nearly put a post about it. I was looking for something for somebody, and Lindsay kindly, very, very kindly, it must have taken her hours, has done a PDF. It's in the, was it in Sew Trisha Sews? I think it is. Excuse me. Have a look in files, and there's a PDF of all the video tutorials. It will be there if you look, so that you'll be able to watch it. I think something's telling me to go and have a drink. Okay. I'm going to love you and leave you, because I need a drink, because my throat is going. But take care of yourselves. I need my voice for Sunday, don't I? If you're in the sew along, I will see you on Sunday. Otherwise, I'll see you next Tuesday for Green Machine and Overlocker. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.